There is not another moment to spare. We must absolutely do it this year. So what we say is, please take time to meet your candidates today. I'm sorry the other candidates weren't here, but you can pick up my literature. Go on our website, right on the front page. We've put all the forums and debates that we filmed. They're all there for you to see all the candidates, and you can make your educated decision. Also, we have a weekly conference call every Monday at 7 p.m. We're the only candidate that does that. We'll answer any of your questions, and we are always glad to have a conversation. So with that, once again, there is no time for on-the-job training. There's not a moment to waste. If you don't elect the most qualified people on August 24th, you're going to get the most recognizable name in November. Thank you very much, and I hope I get your vote.
We have 4 people running here for District 24, and James is the only one who came from District 33. I have 2 questions that are just for James. I have other questions that are for mostly 24, but if James wants to answer those, that's fine too. What is the first piece of legislation you will sponsor and why? Who wants to answer it first?
Well, as I've been saying since the inception of my campaign, the first thing I do is become a co-sponsor for the fair tax legislation. I think that the fair tax is the biggest thing we can do to devolve power from the central government back to the people. And so that's what I would initially carry the water on. And the second thing I would do, I would tie into audit the Fed, and I'd get that as a precursor to getting back on the gold standard.
Yeah, there are a lot of bills I'm more than willing to co-sponsor, but to actually write a bill as a freshman congressman in your first 90 days, I've already pledged to do one, and that is a National Day of Awareness for PTSD. If you're not familiar with that, post-traumatic stress disorder, we have a lot of vets coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq that have that right now, and they're discovering that it's not just a mental issue anymore, and it's been very difficult for them to get treatment for that. But the problem with it is not so much getting the treatment, but recognizing in that situation we have too many of our young soldiers that are committing suicide because they're not getting treatment. They don't recognize the signs, so we want every one of you, whether you know a vet or not, to recognize the signs so that when you see it, you can help them get some help. And so it's a simple little piece of legislation, a National Day of Awareness. That's what all the vets in the Space Coast have asked me to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And I can't see how I can't get something like that passed when there's so many people in support of that. So a simple piece of legislation in the first 90 days.
I think we need a balanced budget amendment. That's what we need to start. We have the fair tax already filed, and it's been filed for several years, and we've been working on it with our Congress, and I think we need to continue that, and I'm supporting a fair tax. But we also need a balanced budget amendment, and we need to look at making sure that the bills that Congress passes, the bills that they introduce, are single subject bills. So there no more of this in the middle of the night, throwing the earmarks and everything else but the kitchen sink, and sometimes even the kitchen sink they put in. So I think that those are the 2 bills that will start putting us back on track, because if they have to have a balanced budget, then that will have to curtail some of their spending.
I would call for a balanced budget amendment, and to add to that is call for a 10% decrease in our federal deficit, which is now projected to be over $1.47 trillion. And certainly we can find a 10% reduction. Let's just start there. So we not only need to balance this budget, but we need to stop this out of control spending, this escalating debt, and I would look forward to calling for that at first.
I think the first thing I would pick up is the Sandy Adams immigration bill. I know she's worked on this for years, and this is something we absolutely need in Florida. We have the 5th highest population of illegal immigrants in the state of Florida, and I just put this on my blog. It costs us $5.4 billion a year for our illegal immigrants, and if they are making $5 an hour, that's equivalent of about $18 an hour in benefits, which comes out to about $37.5 a year per illegal immigrant. And I'm going to tell you this, it's not just dollars and cents, it's really a human rights issue. It really is. Shame on America for creating the secondary slave trade. Shame on America for this artificially depressed human product. We need to fight back, and we need to actually have compassion for these people. We need to cut it off at the source, and we need to get the employers to stop employing. Once you cut off the salaries and the benefits, they won't want to come anymore, and you'll solve your problem.
Okay, the next question is, for anybody, should federal tax dollars be used to prop up local budgets? If no, how would you stop it?
Sorry, the question was, should federal tax dollars be used to balance our budget?
To prop up local budgets.
Absolutely not. That's an it's a non-recurring fund balance. And how would you stop it? Well, first of all, you don't accept the dollars. And second of all, you zero-based budget on a local level. This is what I've done for 15 years. It absolutely works. You draw a tier and you say, in the first tier is what we must do legally. What are the mandates? And if your dollars don't make that first tier, you don't spend anymore. That's pretty simple. You cannot keep budgeting over and over and over on grants, on hand-me-downs, because they dry up. It is illegal to do so. We must stop, and we must work within our budgets. It's been proven. It can be done.
My record in government has been with Sunrail is we asked our citizens through open referendum 2 questions. Do you want it, and are you willing to pay for it? And it overwhelmingly passed in our city. So I supported it as the elected official and representative of my constituents. I think that we should do the same thing not only at the state level, but certainly at the federal level, and you do that through your support of your congresswoman or congressman that represents you. So should we support it? Should we cut it? 2 things. The state legislature has to figure out how to pay for it. They've already voted on it. And the federal government needs to figure out how to stop their spending and their debt, which are creating these problems and forcing them right back down onto the municipalities and the counties. It's the counties and the municipalities that are solving the budget problems because we have to. We have to have a balanced budget. We have to have cash in and cash out. And that is my record of proven tax decreases, spending decreases, and the size of government, and that's what is solid. We need it at the state level, we need it at the federal level. I would look forward to representing you in those discussions.
Well, Dion took all the good words like boondoggle. I was going to use that one. He referenced Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's a nice video game you play. Wrong project, wrong place, wrong time. This will not work. It will fail. We need to put the brakes on it right now. It's an out-of-control locomotive. We don't call it tri-rail down south. We call it tri-fail. It is an absolute bucket of money every year we pour into it. No one rides it. I don't believe the project would work in the best of economies. It certainly isn't going to work in the worst of economies.
Is this healthcare bill, and this has all happened during the vote, is this healthcare bill will force my employer to shift 73,000 seniors into the Medicare system. Force. There are many companies that came out during this vote and said, please do not do this. These are employees that earn their benefits. These are retirees that have their benefits, and I would look forward to taking that debate and coming up with a bill that makes sense, that raises medical outcomes, and truly lowers cost. Thank you.
Do you all realize this is the first time in U.S. history that you are taxed for breathing? The moment you're born to the moment you die, you will now pay for this. If that is not unjust, if that is not unconstitutional, I don't know what is. Let me share 2 quick stories with you. And I love this one. Did you know there's only 12 million people that are on private insurance right now? It's a stat that I heard. Something like Golden Rule. When I became unemployed, I went out and searched for my own insurance. And I went on Golden Rules as a subsidiary of United Healthcare. I didn't know such things existed. I didn't know they were out there. Why aren't we advertising this? And the interesting thing is, my former employer said he spent $500 a month on me, and I spent another $875 per month for my daughter and my wife. So $1375 a month. When I went on Golden Rule as a subsidiary of United, the exact same insurance I had, granted it's not the best for day-to-day, but it's good for emergency purposes, we went down to $745 a month. Now that I own my own business, I'm back on United Healthcare. For my entire family, it only cost me $545 a month. For my former employer used to have me pay $1375. I'm not a genius, but that's an awful big savings. There's things out there and there's ways that people can do it. We cannot be forced to pay for other people who do not want to pay for themselves.
And keep it safe for not only those who are in the system, close to retirement, but also don't forget about those who are also in the system because of disabilities and other reasons why they too have earned the benefits. So let's measure it, let's account for it, let's budget for it, and let's make sure we create strong rules so that this Congress and future Congress representatives cannot steal from the system. Thank you.
Actually, I'm a government efficiency expert. I own my own business, and I go around the state and now the country, and just got calls, a couple calls internationally, to teach governments what they're doing wrong. So it's not only the fact, let me explain this to you very quickly, it's not only the fact that they've been robbing the system, it's the problem that people don't understand basic economics. They think that economies grow exponentially. That's not true. They grow in an S-curve. They eventually have to stall. They don't just keep growing. They assume populations would grow exponentially. They don't. American citizens, our replacement rate, our reproduction rate is less than replacement. The only reason why we keep growing is because of immigration. So here's the deal. They thought that they keep having more and more and more people being born and more money in the system, so it would never go broke. That's not true. We know it's not true. Look what happened with the baby boomers. You had a big influx, and then you had a drop-off, and you have less and less and less people paying in. I had heard at one point when it started, it was 20 people paying for every one. Now it's a little more than 1 for 1. You cannot sustain that. So let me lay this out for you. If you take all of the money that's owed for Social Security, and you put it all the way back to the inception, that's a $3 billion deficit every single year since we started Social Security. It was broken from the beginning, and it is broken now. Now, I'm going to throw this one out to you. I love the fair tax, but this is what I want to see the federal government do, and this is what I challenge these people to do. Go there, get rid of federal taxes completely. Get your budget down to where it's supposed to be, which would probably be 20% of what it is now, and hand an invoice back to each state based upon a per capita basis. That way now the onus is on me to get rid of the people who aren't paying into taxes, illegal immigrants, and I can come up with my own system of how I want to generate those revenues, and I'd like to bring the fair tax back to the state. It'd be the simplest, most efficient way to do it. It stops all this money going up to Washington to come back. They only take what they need for national security, commerce, and major infrastructure.
Okay, y'all still hanging with us? Yeah. Got a few more questions. How do you feel about the Arizona immigration law, and would you support a similar law for Florida?
Let me have it. Absolutely, yes. I've been asked this question at every venue. I've supported 100%. I'll briefly review it for you. $5.4 billion a year go out of Florida. 3.1 of those billion allegedly are money that we don't make as residents here. It's what illegals make that gets shipped to South and Central America. It costs us 60 cents for every 40 cents to give them benefits. That's not a good return on investment. And I'll reiterate this. It is an absolute human tragedy what we are doing to these people. I went to hire 2 people this week for my company who are legal immigrants who worked on farms in Florida. And they said what happens is you live on the farm, by the time you're done, so they feed you and they lodge you, by the time you're done at the end of the week, you owe the farmer more than you made. And then they actually ship in, this is a story, and if this is true, we need to investigate this, we need to prosecute this. They'll bring in drugs and alcohol to keep them high, so they either don't want to stay or they can't ever leave. It's indentured servitude. It's another form of slavery. We absolutely must pass a law here, and we must enforce it with prejudice. Well, I can't necessarily be part of the impeachment proceedings. What I will tell you is that as a state representative, I will push back anything that comes from the federal government that's an unfunded mandate, and I will push back anything that comes from the federal government that is unconstitutional. And let me say these 2 things. I'm the only person in this District 33 race who has ever gone toe-to-toe with their own boss in local government, with a higher authority in the state legislation, and I'm the only one that does not have direct political and financial ties to Tallahassee. You need to send people up there who are scrappers, who know what to do, who can get the job done, and who don't owe anybody a thing. That's the only way we're going to get this fixed.